everyone and welcome to my craft room. I'm Leo from inkymemories.co.uk. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in South Wales, and today on this simple Saturday stamping video we are going to be making some Christmas cards. Now these are my last Christmas cards of the year. If you want to see any of the other designs that I've made so far this year, I'll pop the playlist up on a card just up here for you so you can go and check those out. But yes, this is going to be the last one of the year. These are going to be mini cards, super cute and fun and incredibly easy to put together, and we're going to be using this banner year bundle to make these today. Now this bundle is available in your August to December catalogue on page 65, and because it comes as a bundle you will save 10% buying it together as a bundle rather than buying the stamp and the punch separately, so always a great deal. There's a couple of other things that we're going to be using along with these, and I'll go through those as we bring them in. So let us get started. Today's Simple Saturday project is ever so slightly different in that I haven't done all of my cutting first of all. I wanted to show you how to very easily make a lot of cards very quickly. So I have here a 12 by 12 piece of Whisper white cardstock. So this is 12 inches by 12 inches, which is 30.5 centimeters by 30.5 centimeters. And I'm going to show you how to cut this into some very quick and easy card bases. So using my trimmer that I have here, I'm going to pop my cardstock in to the 3-inch mark on here first of all. So make sure your cardstock is butted up right to the very top and pop that to the 3-inch mark. Make sure that it's nice and straight on there. Once you're ready, pop your guide in place. So we're first of all going to be using the scoring blade, which is this pale grey one here. So you're just going to press fairly firmly just to put your score line in. I'm going to take my cardstock out and flip it around and do exactly the same thing. So again, moving my cardstock to the 3-inch mark on my paper trimmer, making sure that it's nice and firmly up against here. Popping the guide into place and then running that scoring blade through a couple of times. And then without taking the cardstock out, I'm going to shimmy it over to the 6-inch mark, which is just over here. And this time using the dark grey blade, the cutting blade, I'm just going to pull that straight through to cut my sheet in half. And then from there, I'm going to cut these 2 strips into 3-inch pieces. So again, pulling my cardstock to the 3-inch line on my trimmer, put the guard in place, make sure your cardstock is buttered right up against the edge, and then just cut these down. And this will then make your 3-inch square card. So I'm just going to finish cutting the rest of these. And there we go. From one sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock, I have 8 mini card bases ready to go, which happens to be the perfect number that I need to give to all of my neighbours on my street. And no, that isn't a coincidence. Okay, moving on then. So now that we have our card bases, there's a couple of other paper pieces that I have already pre-cut. So using the Heartwarming Hugs Designer Series paper, which again is in your August to December catalogue, I've cut some strips from the DSP. Now these are 1 inch wide or 2.5 centimeters wide, and as you can see I've got a variety of different patterns here. This card or this set of cards is a great way of using up any of your scrap pieces that you have left over from some of your other projects. So I just have 8 strips of that. I also then have some cardstock in Real Red, Mossy Meadow and Pear Pizzazz. This is cut at 3/4 of an inch wide, which is 1.9 centimeters. And then I have some strips of Whisper White, which are 1/2 inch wide, which is 1.3 centimeters. And we're going to use all of these to form our cards basically. And of course we're going to be doing some stamping using the gorgeous Banner Year stamp set. So the images that I've pulled out of here, I have this tiny little Santa hat and the holly leaves and berries, and I also have two sentiments. I've got the Christmas wishes and Be Merry sentiments. So let's stamp the backgrounds of the cards first of all. I'm going to do two different versions of this card today. So we'll start with the first one, for which I'm going to need my little mini Santa hat, some real red ink and Pear Pizzazz ink. And all I'm going to do is just stamp these mini Santa hats all over the background of my card. There are my ink pads, here are my card bases, and I want my cards to fold this way, so they open this way for this particular card. So I'm going to make sure that all of my Santa hats are lined up to work this way around, and then I'm just going to stamp all over the background of this card with my little Santa hats. Okay, so that's my little Santa hats stamped for my first set of 4 cards. Very cute, as I'm sure you'll agree. So let me pop these to one side and we shall do the second set of cards. So I'm going to close up my Pear Pizzazz ink, I don't need that one this time around, and bring in some Mossy Meadow ink instead. And for this set of cards, I want them to open this way. So I'm going to stamp my holly leaves and berries in this direction. So again, just lining up all of my card bases ready to go. I've got my 2 stamps here, so my holly leaves and berries. And I'm just going to again cover the background in these stamps. Okay, so that is the stamping on the card bases done. There's one more thing that I want to stamp, which are the sentiments. So I'm just going to stamp those onto the strips of Whisper White that I cut. And I'm going to do 2 different sentiments, one for each of the cards, or you can mix and match them over the front of each card if you want to. So there's my 2 piles, and like I said, the sentiments that I have here are Be Merry and Christmas Wishes. So what I'm going to do first of all, before I stamp, is actually punch the ends of my strips using the Banners Picker Punch, and I'm using the chevroned end here. So all I'm going to do is literally just feed my strip in and punch it to get that nice notch edge, and I'm just going to very quickly punch all 8 of these strips before I start stamping them. So now that I have my strips punched and ready to go, we shall get them stamped. Now the reason I wanted to punch them first is this helps me then to line up my sentiment to make sure that it's spaced out nicely on my strip. So because I'm going to be having the strips this way round on the front of my card, I want to make sure my sentiment is quite close to the notched punched end here. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp nicely. Just look over the top, excuse my head in shot, just to make sure I've got this lined up. Press it straight down and lift it up, and I'm going to stamp four of those in total, so 3 more of those. And luckily there are two sides to every piece of cardstock. So if you do make a mistake, flip your cardstock over and give it another go. There we go, that's better. 4 lots of Christmas wishes stamped. So I'm going to do the same on this side with Be Merry in real red ink. So again, just inking up my stamp, making sure I've got nice amounts of ink on there. Lining up my little sentiment piece. Lining up my stamp over the front. Pressing it straight down and lifting it straight back up. And again, I'm just going to repeat that on all of these strips. Okay, so that is our sentiment stamped. Now before I close up my ink pads, there's one more thing I need to do. I need to stamp my envelopes. So I have here the Whisper White 3" by 3" envelopes, which are perfectly sized for the little mini cards that we are putting together today. So I'm just going to grab myself 8 of these. 8, there we go, and stamp these as well. So I want to do 4 of them with the little Santa hats, and then 4 of them with the holly berries and leaves. So let me grab in my little Santa hat first of all and get these done in real red. I'm just going to pop a little one into the bottom corner, just like that. I always like to make sure there is a little something on my envelopes before my cards go out. As I like to say, no naked envelopes in this craft room. I think if you are going to the effort of making a handmade card, you have that envelope in front of you, you've got your stamps and your ink, you may as well just pop a little something on there as well, just to make it a little bit festive. So with the holly leaves, I'm just popping these into the top left corner. And then we'll add some berries for that holly as well. Okay, that is all of our stamping done. So I'm going to close up my ink pad so we don't end up with any more ink mishaps in the craft room this morning. Alright, so now that we have finished the stamping, I have all of my assorted pieces ready to go. My card bases, DSP, sentiments, card strips and envelopes for both sets of cards. So now it is time to put them together. And this is so simple. These are incredibly easy cards to make and definitely one that I would recommend you give a go. You can adapt this card type for so many different occasions, and the Banner Year bundle has a lot of different sentiments and images in there. So if you wanted to make, say, mini Valentine's cards for your colleagues or a bunch of friends, you can certainly do that. Little thank you cards. There are all kinds of things, and not even just this particular stamp set. Stampin' Up have a lot of different sets that include mini images and sentiments like this. Have a look through the catalogue, see what grabs your fancy and give this card design a go. So let us start with some liquid glue, and I'm going to start first of all with my DSP pieces, and I'm just going to get these punched as well. So I'm going to again use the notched end or the chevron end on here and just punch these all nice and quickly. Now I have my DSP punched, I'm going to do the same with my cardstock strips, but using the other end, so the sort of bumped out chevron end this time. So just feeding my cardstock into the punch, punching it down, and then we get that nice notched end, and I'm going to repeat that for all of my pieces of cardstock as well. Okay, there we go. All of our punching is done. So let us assemble. I'm going to take some liquid glue to do the first couple of layers. So first of all, I'm going to grab a piece of designer series paper and pop some glue over the back. So you don't need too much, just a little bit to hold it in place. And you probably don't need to go right the way to the end. Like I said, I've cut all of these pieces from scraps, so they're probably going to be too long and hang over the edge of the project, but that's fine. We're going to take a pair of scissors and trim them all at the end. So I'm going to pop this down towards the bottom and hanging over the left hand side. Just smooth that into place while the glue catches. If you need to wiggle it around with the liquid glue, you have time to do so. I'm going to take a piece of the coloured cardstock and pop that over the top. So again, just a bit of liquid glue onto the back, and then pop it down slightly overlapping and over the edge of your piece of designer series paper. And again, just smooth that into place, give it a few moments for the glue to bond. And then with my sentiment strip, I'm going to pop this on with a couple of mini dimensionals. So I'm just going to flip this over. Hi, Ruby. And then put a couple of mini dimensionals across the back. So you want them to land basically where the sentiment is. So when you're looking through your cardstock, you should actually be able to just about see your sentiment through there. So just make sure that your dimensionals don't go too much further than your sentiment piece. And then for this, I'm just going to peel the backs off my dimensionals and sit this across the middle, just like that. So I'm going to complete the rest of these and then we'll come back and snip these all up. So once you're happy that the glue has dried up nicely on your mini cards, I'm going to take a pair of long scissors and flip these over, and I'm literally just going to trim straight up the edge of the card, making sure you don't cut the actual spine of the card, and that then trims down all of those excess pieces on the end and neatens your card up. So again, just straight up the edge of there to finish off our little mini cards. So I'm going to do the same thing with my second set of cards. So if I bring those back in, I'm going to fold them and burnish the score line first of all. There are our card bases ready to go. So if I just pop these to one side for a moment while we finish off this set of cards. Here are all of my pieces. So I've got my sentiments, my designer series paper, and my coloured cardstock, and I'm going to layer these up in exactly the same way that I did with the other set. So designer series paper going down first, just with some liquid glue. So now the very final step for these little mini cards before I send them out is to add a little bit of bling to each one. So for my Be Merry cards here, I've got this gold cord. Now this is from the Wonder of the Season ribbon combo pack. Again, this is in your August to December catalogue, so well worth grabbing while you can if you would like that. And all I'm going to do is tie myself a couple of little mini air bows. Air bows because you literally just tie them in midair, they're not tied around anything. And I do want these to be fairly mini. They are mini cards, so we don't want huge great bows hanging off the edges of them. And I need 4 of these, so 1 for the front of each card. So I'm just going to finish tying those. I'm going to add my mini bows using glue dots. So first of all, I'm just going to finish snipping the tails on all of these. They're not all exactly the same size, but that's fine. Last one. Okay, 4 mini bows for 4 mini cards. So I'm going to take a pick tool, and I'm going to use the pointer end, and with my glue dots I'm going to fold these up. So I'm going to try and do this as close to the camera as I can so you can see. So first of all I'm going to lift up one side and fold it over, and then lift up the other sort of side and fold it over again. So I'm kind of folding it in to make a little glue bundle like this. And I'm going to pop this just under the edge of my sentiment strip, so it sits just here. And I'm going to take my mini bow and pop the center knot of the bow right into the middle of that mini glue dot. So hopefully, if I hold this here for a second, you should be able to see. You can't now see the mini glue dot that I've put on there, and that bow is nicely fixed to the front of the card. And I'm going to repeat that for the other 4 cards. So there are my first 4 mini cards ready to go with their mini envelopes as well. So again, let's pop these to one side and we'll finish off the holly leaf version. And for these, the decoration that I've decided to go with is the basic red rhinestone jewels. And all I'm going to do is just pop 3 of these across the front of each card. And I'm going to pop them in place of some of the holly berries that we've stamped into the background. They fit perfectly over that stamped image. So just pick 3 of the little berries to replace with your rhinestones. So I'm going to choose that one there. And that is our finished mini holly card, and I'm just going to repeat that for the other 3. And here we have my 8 finished mini cards ready to give to my neighbours this year. Super simple, as I'm sure you would agree. Both quite different, but lots of very similar things. And like I said, a design that you can definitely change up, use different images, different sentiments, different DSP and so on. Use whatever supplies you have and get some cards out to your friends and family this year. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope that you have enjoyed this project. If you have, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss out on any of the rest of my videos. We still have a couple more festive videos to come in December before things start moving on to new products and the new catalogue, so look out for those. If you want to shop any of the products that I've used today, they are available through my store with Stampin' Up, and there'll be a link in the description box below for you to purchase those. If you're based in the UK and you don't currently have a Stampin' Up demonstrator, I'll also pop a link in the description to the form on my website where you can request a copy of our physical catalogues, and I'll get those out into the post for you. Thank you again for joining me today, and I hope to see you in my craft room again very soon. Bye bye.